heavy lineup, being that one big man. Let's see if he can do it today.
Jeffrey Anderson, Earl Walton, and Amy Bonner, the officials. And away we go here inside Pauley Pavilion. Glad to have you with us. The Bruins 2-1 on the season. Lehigh winless, seeking their first win of the 2024-2025 season. As Higgins Jr. is able to create some space, and Johnson claims the first rebound for the Bruins. Got off to a great start as Johnson draws the personal on Ben Knosman. And that's his first personal. UCLA 2-0 here at Pauley Pavilion. They've committed 36 turnovers, though, in the last 2 games. That's been a big point of emphasis as Bilodeau misses the 3, and Gillis claims the rebound. So taking care of the basketball is of the utmost importance tonight for the Bruins, as that will count for Whitney Sidney. And a 3-point opportunity, potentially, if it's in the act of shooting. They'll wave it off and say it's on the floor.
Yeah, Tyler Whitney Sidney, one of their main guys last season, without Keith Higgins Jr.
Higgins for 3, making his return to Southern California. First chance he's gotten to play in front of some friends and family who are in attendance tonight. The West Hills product played at Chaminade Prep. Sebastian Mack enters quickly and hits his first jumper for UCLA.
Yeah, we know Sebastian Mack can score. He did that a lot last year for the Bruins. He should be valuable off the bench for Mick Cronin's squad this year.
4th appearance for him. He's come off the bench in the first 3 games. Instant spark plug. Alvey on the face-up. Shot clock inside 10. Whitney Sidney. Alvey falls on the deck. Down to 5. Back out Knosman for 3 and knocks it down. And a great start for Ben Knosman. It has to feel good for him to hit one. Mountain Hawks hit 9 3-pointers against Columbia, as there's a foul on the pass. They stormed back against the Lions, ultimately fell short 76-75. But they went on a crazy stretch in the final 90 seconds to tie the score at 75, led by Keith Higgins Jr., who caught fire, hitting 4 threes. They conceded a foul with 0.6 seconds and lost on a free throw. Daly on the spin down, no. Grabs his own offensive rebound, goes back up with it. And he can do that, 6'8", 230 pounds. Big offensive rebound.
Eric Daly, known for his toughness and his physicality. That's what Mick Cronin really loves about him.
Rebounding has been a point of emphasis for Coach Mick Cronin in his 6th season. Feels like they need to be a little bit better at asserting that physicality. Gillis with the shot clock winding down. Open look again for Lehigh, off the mark. Offensive rebound for Alvey, as Edward Benoit, the freshman number 5, just checked in. So expect to see a lot of different faces on the floor for both sides as Higgins off the skip. An open look, and he has missed his first 3. But again, it stays with Lehigh. Back, try to keep it in play. Higgins again, no. Skying in for the rebound, Sebastian Mack. Coming off a 12-point performance in 21 minutes off the bench for Coach Cronin. Johnson on the step through, got enough power on it. And Kobe Johnson, the first-year man in Westwood, scores the first bucket. Of course, a transfer from USC, so still taking a little bit of time to adjust to wearing the blue and gold as opposed to the cardinal and gold. He feels right at home here in Westwood. Find Whitney Sidney in the corner, and Daly might have altered that 3, forced him to put a little bit more arc on it. Mack to the cup, no. And Alvey with the defensive rebound.
UCLA liking to get into transition more. That's one of the points of emphasis Mick Cronin wants this season for the Bruins.
Another look for Benoit, in and out. Groundhawks 1 for 6. What a dish inside. The patience from Daly Jr. Johnson put it on target.
Kobe Johnson, 4 assists for the Bruins this season. A little bit of a bright spot in terms of playmaking.
Normally known for his defensive prowess. 163 steals in his career. Higgins can't finish. Daly with the board. And the Bruins have numbers. Clark in transition. That's good. Sky Clark buries a 3, and he gives UCLA an 8-point lead. A timeout taken by Coach Brett Reed in his 18th season. And we'll keep it here. A lot of threes taken early from both sides, but UCLA has been the one hitting them so far.
Yeah, Lehigh really struggling from that. 1 of 7 from the three-point lane. Let's see if they can continue to improve throughout the game, because if they can't, it's going to be a very long night.
And it was interesting against BU, we saw a lot of full court pressure being applied to the guards. And again, one of the things that Coach Cronin talked about during his media conference is that it's a lot easier to apply a lot of on-ball pressure when you have a veteran team. You're seeing the several highlights created by 28 turnovers from this UCLA defense on Monday, but it's not something that you can necessarily do with younger players because there isn't that trust factor built in yet.
Exactly. Transfers make it so much easier for Mick Cronin. Getting guys who have been there before, like Kobe Johnson, Sky Clark, Tyler Bilodeau, guys who know what it takes to win in college basketball.
They beat the Terriers 71-40. 3 different players scored in double figures, but of course you talk to Coach Cronin. He doesn't care about the offense. He is concerned about the number of loose balls that his players were diving on. He said that his team had 11 dives on the floor. And those are kind of the metrics that he's looking for as a head coach.
Yeah, I'm sure Mick Cronin also loves the getting your hands in the passing lane metrics too. Those are always great to see, guys with their length and just playing great defense all around.
Sky Clark, who just hit the last 3, was credited with 5 effort plays in 1 possession. Something that Coach Cronin talks about. Different effort plays can be pressuring the ball, helping in help side position, providing assistance when trying to defend 2 players. Took a couple of charges as well. And just to hear the coaching staff break down the effort to such granular levels just provides incredible insight into their mindset and what they expect from their players.
Yeah, and going back to Sky Clark, we knew he could be such a force offensively, obviously leading Louisville in points per game last season. But great bright spot to the start of the season for him, specifically on the defensive end. He's averaging 2.7 steals per game, which leads the team.
Timeout taken by Lehigh. And again, we're seeing that full court press. Groundhawks do have a lot of talented guards. They haven't faced this kind of pressure. Gillis, fortunate, finds the hands of Higgins. Now they've got a 2-on-1, and Benoit swatted away, swiped down by Johnson, another steal. Right on cue, Johnson has just been tremendous.
Defense is what he's known for.
William Kyle just checked in as well. Kickball will keep it here. Johnson had 4 steals and 4 assists in the game against Boston University.
Yeah.
See, those are going to be those opportunities. If you're Lehigh, you have to convert.
Yeah, and obviously Kobe Johnson, 2-time Pac-12 All-Defensive Team at his time at USC, showing what he can do on that end of the floor.
Joshua Ingram checking in to replace the freshman Benoit. Ingram, just a sophomore out of Fords, New Jersey. Fourth straight appearance for him. Kyle across the lane and is hacked on the arm and will head to the line. Junior out of Bellevue, New England. Coming off a 7.6 rebound performance, along with a block shot in just 14 minutes. The big thing for him is the stamina. He's got the energy, he's got the size, but Coach Cronin is trying to figure out how to keep him out on the floor longer because he's so effective when he's out there.
Yeah, they really don't know why he can't stay on the floor, but once they can figure that out, he will be dominant on the defensive end and very much improving on the offensive end. Still much of a raw talent, but once he gets there, he could be a dominant force for the Bruins.
He's got that interesting free throw technique, but it works out. He's been working on that throughout the start of the year and throughout the offseason. Ten-point lead for UCLA. Daly collides into Whitney Sidney. It's going to be his first personal and the second team foul. It was just the 12th time in program history that the Bruins had limited an opponent to 40 points. And they held the Terriers on Monday to 40. Doesn't matter what level of competition you're at. That's impressive. Again, the trap forces the travel, and it's going back to the Bruins.
Yeah, you know Mick Cronin loves to see this early. Guys active on defense, talking and making plays.
The last time the Bruins actually held a team to 40 was back on January 19th in 2020 when they beat Cal 50-40. Mack on the crossover, and a Mack attack gets to the rim. It's Sebastian Mack off to a good start. Every catch contested for this Mountain Hawks team. Catch and shoot Gillis, woefully short. Up ahead for Johnson. The lob trying to find William Kyle flying to the rim. Stays in play for a moment, and Daly Jr. throws it away. Look at Coach Brett Reed, winningest head coach in program history, not to mention the longest tenured head coach here at Lehigh, over 276 wins in his career. Of course, everyone thinks about that incredible 2012 run with C.J. McCollum upsetting Duke in the first round of the NCAA tournament. This is a new team, but a lot of strong guard play, much like that squad in 2012.
Yeah, C.J. McCollum obviously a force for the Trailblazers and the Pelicans.
Sear Whitlock also just checked in off the bench. Inside 10, SoCal native Higgins looking for his first bucket in Los Angeles, and he finds the range. And that has to feel good. Missed his first four, connects on his fifth.
He needs to get hot if Lehigh wants a chance to win this game here.
Was nearly the hero on Monday as the Mountain Hawks forced the turnover, and they can't connect on the touchdown pass. Mountain Hawks have had a tough start to the year, as there's that customary stoic look from Mick Cronin. Wants his players to play at a standard. That's going to be an offensive moving screen against William Kyle. And it's interesting because we highlighted the number of turnovers that they've committed as a team, but a lot of them are a byproduct of the coaches emphasizing passing, wanting the players to move the ball more. He had a discussion not too long ago with Bob Myers, and he talked about his time when he was the GM of the Golden State Warriors and how the Warriors' goal was to pass it 300 times a game. And for Mick Cronin, obviously when they had Jaime Jaquez and they had Tiger Campbell, there were fewer turnovers because those two guys predominantly had the ball. So there was less passing, less opportunities to turn it over, versus now you have less of those sturdy, reliable guards, even though you do have a guy in Dylan Andrews who could potentially be that. So there is some built-in expectations that turnovers are going to be had.
Yeah, pace of play for the Bruins is a big factor in that. In those 5 years with Jaime Jaquez and Tiger Campbell, they played a very slow pace. This year, it's not fast, but they're improving with possessions. They're getting more possessions a game, and that's always going to lead to more turnovers, trying to get the ball down the floor and trying to score more points.
They just get it on the other end of the timeline, and Whitney Sidney flying through the rim. And was able to beat the press that time. That's what Lehigh is going to have to do, is make the Bruins pay when they fly a bunch of bodies forward. Trent Perry, the heralded freshman, his first touch. And Kyle trying to clear some space. Conniff, just an iceberg right outside of the paint, forces the miss. This front line is young for Lehigh, but they do have some size. Whitlock. Stefanovic defending Higgins. Closes that window shortly. Dominique Harris just checked in, switched out onto him. Higgins with a long three, cashes it from distance. And that's what we saw at the end of the fourth quarter on Monday.
Yeah, Keith Higgins, 61% from three this season. No matter how late or how early it is in the season, that is still a very impressive mark.
Coming off a career-high 7 3-pointers, 5 of which came in the fourth, 4 came in the final 90 seconds. Harris, who was one of the top 3 three-point shooters in the nation last season with LMU, misses his first. He's been struggling from deep this season, 0 for 9 to start the year. They try not to rely on the three-point shot too much, but they've only hit 5, have the Bruins, each of the last 2 games. As Higgins calls his own number, count it, and 1. Mini flurry for Keith Higgins, and he'll head to the line with a chance to complete a 3-point.
And step back to get Stefanovic on his hip, so he has all room to pull up and on the step back. What a fantastic job.
Mini 7-0 run. Keith Higgins tied his career high 28 points against Columbia, 10 of 15 shooting. It was a preseason All-Patriot League selection last season. In fact, with that bucket, he has officially scored 1,070 points in his career. 3 for 7 from the free throw line so far this season. Bruins have led by as many as 12. Tyler Bilodeau back in for UCLA. Their best offensive weapon, and he's fouled and will head to the line. One of 6 transfers for this UCLA team, but arguably having the biggest impact so far this season.
Yeah, very quiet this game so far. Cronin hasn't really got much of him going, but as this game progresses, let's see if they continue to go to him like they did just there.
16 points, 8 rebounds per game, 56%er from the charity stripe, though, as he hits the first. Again, the sample size is small. Does have a good stroke for a 6'9" forward. As Hank Alvey checks back in. It's them both. So far, Lehigh has handled that on-ball pressure pretty well. Sky Clark called for the reach-in. Was a menace as an on-ball defender on Monday against BU. At 16 deflections, according to Coach Cronin. And Trent Perry slaps it out of bounds with 12 to shoot. So this is an interesting lineup out on the floor. Dominic Harris, Tyler Bilodeau, Trent Perry, Kobe Johnson, and Sky Clark. And Dominic Harris, he can be the X factor for this UCLA team if he can hit those three-pointers this season. As Clark, active hands, stripped Whitlock on the way up. Clark thought about it. Bilodeau with the tough catch. On the drop step with the left hand. Goes glass and kind of showed his defender a bill of goods that time.
I wonder if Bilodeau, this is a chance for him to start getting hot and start putting this Bruins team on his back.
Read that passing lane as well. Doing it on both ends of the floor. And he wants it. They're trying to swing it to him. And they do. With the post catch, the hook shot, no. And Whitney Sidney climbs for the rebound. Another one of these double-digit scores for Lehigh. Kind of gets lost in the shuffle because of his passing. Such an elite passing ability and vision.
He was relied upon last season to score the ball without Keith Higgins for about half the season due to an Achilles injury.
Higgins gets behind that three-point line, this time off the front rim, tipped around, and Perry's fouled by Ingram, going for that loose rebound. We saw a lot of this, by the way, Gio, as you were about to say, when he was at Oregon State.
Yeah, Bilodeau at Oregon State. Mick Cronin has said that he is a great scorer at all three levels, and he hurt to play against them every time they would play twice a year against Oregon State.
His mom played in the ABL and the WNBA for 7 seasons. Dad was a hockey player, though. I'm sure his mom's happy that gets to wear a mouth guard. Loaded up, Bilodeau with the catch. The patience, no, and a late whistle. And he just hit a pair from the free throw line a few minutes ago. Good start so far from the free throw line for Tyler Bilodeau. Coming off a 6-point performance against BU. First time that he finished in single digits this season. Former Gatorade Player of the Year during his high school days in Washington. He's 4 for 4 in the early going. Eric Daly Jr. reinserted. That was about 5 inches on Nasir Whitlock, trying to deter him. Now Bilodeau switches out. Whitlock rises up. Tipped around off the rim. And we'll say it was last touched by the Mountain Hawks. So timeout on the floor. 7:53 to play. Bilodeau leading the way for the Bruins with 6. Clark off the curl, hits the jumper, and Sky Clark, we saw a lot of that in high school as well. Bit of a reunion for him, and there's one of those dives that Coach Cronin loves. And he crashed right into a couple of the courtside fans. A little shaken up. Did all the little things against BU. He's kind of the unsung hero. Yeah, it's really a full circle moment for him as well. He's had such a journey at the collegiate level. In his career at Illinois, transferred to Louisville. Then transferred back to Los Angeles, where he played at Heritage Christian High School. Sebastian Mack forces the turnover. Off Gillis, 3-on-2. Daly tied up on the way up, but he earns a whistle.
And that's all starting with the new offense or defense to offense, that Cronin wants to put in place. He wants to create turnovers and then push the ball in pace.
Eric Daly Jr., sophomore out of Florida, always plays with great energy. A game high 13 points against Boston University, transfer from Oklahoma State. In fact, he actually played center when he was with the Cowboys in Stillwater. So a little bit of an adjustment for him coming to Westwood and still playing in the front line, but not the center spot.
Yeah, he appeared in every game for Oklahoma State last season. So, a guy who can just stay on the floor, and that's what Mick Cronin loves to see.
Inside, Alvey on the doorstep, couldn't finish. Again, Bilodeau wants it. And he is just putting the freshman in the blender. Bilodeau's got 8. He's just praying right now, right around the rim. Whitney Sidney can't push it up and in. Here comes Kobe Johnson. Obviously, they're going to have that size. Inexperienced front line for Lehigh. A lot of talent, though. Daly, bold spin, and a foul on the floor. This UCLA team, a lot of the transfers also coming in along their front line as well. So as much as we've talked about the inexperienced front line for Lehigh, there still exists a little bit of a lack of chemistry amongst the bigs for UCLA. As Trent Perry hits the front end of the 1-and-1. Freshman out of West Covina, very analytical, a cerebral player, according to the coaches. He always knows when he makes the mistakes. He doesn't need Coach Cronin to point it out. Jump ball and possession arrow. Looks to stay with the Bruins.
And going back to Trent Perry, McDonald's All-American. That is great for this UCLA squad. If he can continue to play like he was sought out to in high school, it would be great for the Bruins.
They lob it in to Daly Jr. off the inbounds. Was sent back by Benoit. Benoit also 6'8" for Lehigh Mack. On the up and under, gets it to fall. It's Sebastian Mack. Forces Coach Reed to call a timeout, the largest lead of the game. UCLA up by 16, and we're seeing the complementary of players. Mack with 6, Bilodeau with 8. And he was one of the best attacking guards in the Pac-12 last season.
Yeah, went to the line a ton last season. Top 2 in the freshman category. Let's see if he can continue to do that this year off the bench for the Bruins.
He was top 5 in the Pac-12 last year in free throws attempted, 6th in free throws made. He made 125 last year, which was the most by UCLA freshman since Shabazz Muhammad in the 2012-2013 season. He has the ultimate green light. Again, Coach Cronin just empowers him to drive it to the rim because he does such a good job of creating that contact.
Yeah, and big thing for him is his three-point shot. He's shooting 3 of 5 from the three-point land this year. If he can continue to improve on that, he can make himself an all-around scorer.
Cam Gillis has been held in check so far. He's only attempted one shot, missed it in 9 minutes. That was going to be one of the matchups. How would he handle the on-ball pressure? Higgins with 5. Alvey doesn't take many jumpers. Forced to take a tough fall away in the hands of Johnson. Carving his way back. Get it back to Bilodeau. A lot of ball movement with this Bruins team. Bilodeau spots up and buries the 3. Only hit 2 prior to that one on the year. Back out Gillis looking for the answer. Short. Out comes Daly Jr. And he's called for the travel. Certainly disagreeing with that call, but Bilodeau, you're seeing the inside game and the outside game.
Yeah, Bilodeau is a 3-level scorer usually. That's going to be huge for the Bruins going on later in the season. A 23-point, 15-rebound performance against New Mexico. Career high in rebounds set as William Kyle checks back in to replace Bilodeau. Inside 5 minutes to play in the first half. Bruins beat Ryder and BU at home. Higgins with 8. Nice fall away. Perry cleans it up. Running the floor, William Kyle. Clean up on Kyle. How about that? A rim run, and he puts the Bruins up by 21 on Gio. Yeah, the Bruins, what a fantastic start, especially inside the paint, leading Lehigh 16-4 in that area of the floor. And if they can continue doing that, it's going to be a long night for the Mountain Hawks.
Mountain Hawks haven't scored in 6 minutes and 8 seconds, and Bilodeau has been imposing his will on this first half. 11 points, 3 for 5 shooting in 11 minutes. And when he's hitting those shots from the outside, he's next to unguardable. Freshman Alvey got a couple inches, but doesn't have the girth just yet. Knostman, savvy step through, missed on the doorstep though. Had a chance. The defender up in the air. Daly Jr. gathers and will head to the line. He was hit as he was going up. And he's got such a good physical profile. A guy at 6'8" who can run the floor, handles it well. Just a sophomore, so still polishing his game and refining it. But he's a tremendous talent.
Yeah, especially on the defensive end, too. He's averaging 1.3 steals this season.
Mountain Hawks closed the gap to within 2. And then the Bruins slowly started to grind them down. Hasn't come in the form of turnovers, but just heavily contested shots. Just 6 turnovers for Lehigh, so they've actually handled the ball pressure fairly well. Just haven't been able to convert on the offensive end. As Alfredo Adeza, the freshman number 15, the Italian, in for the first time. Will try his hand at the 3. And after hitting their first 3, the Mountain Hawks have only hit 1 in their last 10. Mack lowered the shoulder and an offensive foul. First personal on Sebastian Mack. 7th team foul against UCLA. This month for Lehigh, is really being looked at as an opportunity for growth, a chance to learn more about themselves. They've had a brutal start to the season. They took on Northwestern in their opener. Then they lost to Georgetown in the Big East. And then their last game against Columbia, they made it interesting and stormed back against a really good Ivy League squad that nearly qualified for the NCAA tournament last year. So every game, they're starting to look a little bit better.
Yeah, and as Coach Brett Reed told us, they continue to do better as the season goes on and on. They continue to improve. So let's see if they can continue to do that in this season as well.
Daly Jr. muscling his way to the line again. Adai Mara just checked in as well. That's what a lot of the students were cheering for. 7'3" Spaniard. Was an absolute menace on Monday against BU. Limited action for him, but he led the team in 10 minutes with 7 rebounds. Just gobbling up every single loose ball.
Yeah, in the offseason, he gained 20 to 25 pounds of muscle, which is absolutely phenomenal for a guy that was pretty skinny going into his freshman year last year.
Daly splits a pair. Three for 6 from the free throw line, as again they show 2. Gillis looking for an outlet, got caught, and there's a timeout granted in time. It looks like there was. So Coach Brett Reed granted a timeout just before that trap was about to swallow up Gillis with 2:54 to play. And this UCLA team, again, has continued this Lehigh scoring drought, ticking up to 7 minutes. And Ben Knosman back in for Lehigh. 0 for 3 to start the year. First 4 games all coming on the road. Gillis looking for his first bucket. Cut off though, Perry defended that well with 1 and stripped, but a foul committed by Johnson with 1 second on the shot clock.
What a fantastic matchup. Kobe Johnson and Keith Higgins, an elite offensive player versus an elite defensive player.
Higgins heads to the line. Has really been the only Mountain Hawk that has gotten it going offensively. 8 points, 3 for 10 shooting in 16 minutes. Knosman hit 1 3, and Whitney Sidney hit 1 bucket. Those are the only 3 scores as he splits a pair and is up to 9. And that officially ends a scoring drought that lasted 8 minutes on that free throw. Mara wanting Perry to dribble towards the screen. Wide open is Daly. Whitney Sidney with the board. Double-digit score in his own right. Whitlock off the catch and shoot. And they just haven't been able to find the range from deep. All the movement, the lob up top. And Mara with a pre-Thanksgiving stuff.
Yeah, it's just too easy for the Bruins. With Adai Mara at the 7'3" height span, it is awesome to see.
Nothing Lehigh could do about that. As the 7'3" sophomore gives the Bruins a 24-point lead. Square up for Adeza. And that makes them 2 for 13 now from deep as a team.
What a lob from Mack. Perfect positioning and perfect timing is always key on alley-oop passes, and they executed that to a T.
Mara played in 28 games last season, as you talked about. Spent the entire offseason likely eating steak to put on all that weight. As Perry can hit, and Daly is able to clean it up. Speaking of guys in the gym daily, Eric Daly. But it's interesting because Adai Mara, of course, lives with Lazar Stefanovic. And so he's been trying to mirror all the habits of Lazar as Perry commits the foul up top. And obviously he's been working a lot more with Dave Andrews, their athletic performance coach, has Mara. But Lazar Stefanovic said that he's been reading more, he's been writing more, getting to bed earlier, his diet's changed. And at one point, he felt like he was looking at himself in the mirror in a way. As Johnson gobbles up another defensive rebounding. When Lazar saw him doing all these things, he said, I wonder where he got that from.
It's clearly shown in his play at Mara.
Perry rifles it down, the aforementioned Mara, and turned away by the greeting mat and let back in. Seven-second differential. And a foul away committed by Johnson. There's too much in the grill of Higgins. They're over the limit. And so Higgins will head to the line. Kobe Johnson in his career over 163 steals, making his 61st career start. Two-time Pac-12 all-defensive team selection for Johnson as he takes a seat. Dominic Harris will come in for the final 22. Higgins, meanwhile, making his 70th career start. He's the lone Mountain Hawk in double figures with 11. Able to break the press. Daly flying to the rim is Mara again. Monster flush after the Daly and Mara connection. Contests it. Grabbed by Daly Jr., and that will do it for the first half. Adai Mara giving the fans a thrill as he gives UCLA a 44-16 lead at the break. Halftime here inside Pauley Pavilion. Bruins rolling as they hold Lehigh to no field goals in the final 10.5 minutes of the first half. Daly and Bilodeau leading the way, and the Bruins up by 28. This game is that when it comes to rebounding, he said the best teams grab about 35 to 40% of offensive rebounds on missed shots. So sometimes it's not just about whether you take the shot, whether you miss the shot, how active are you on the glass in pursuit of the rock?
Yeah, creating more possessions will equal creating more buckets. You have more chances to score if you have the ball more. So getting offensive rebounds is really key for success.
So we'll see what kind of adjustments Lehigh makes. 0 for 3 out of the gates. But another try against their second Big Ten opponent. If they just receive a few more contributions from other guys, Cam Gillis was held scoreless in the first 20. Then Knosman hit his first three-pointer. Nearly got tied up with Stefanovic and then got hacked. Stefanovic picks up his personal second team foul. Stefanovic hasn't even attempted a shot as he's immediately replaced for Sebastian Mack. It's following the same formula as in the first half, and an excellent out-of-bounds play to a hot Higgins, who lays it in. What a play drawn up by Coach Brett Reed.
Higgins can't be the only one to score for this Lehigh team, though. You need other guys to step it up. Tyler Whitney, Sidney, Cam Gillis, guys like that to continue to push the pace and push the ball to get into the basket, because that's the only way they're going to get back in this game.
Illido, that shot's going to be waved off for travel. And he was moving a little bit before he put that ball down. If you're Lehigh in this second half, obviously you want to see contributions from a number of guys, but who in particular is the guy for you that needs to get going here?
I think Cam Gillis needs to really step it up. He's only shot twice this game, and he's been their second leading offensive player this season. So if he can continue to put the ball in the basket like he's been doing all season against teams like Northwestern and Georgetown, it will continue to help this Lehigh team.
Well, the Bruins defense forces the 7th turnover. Just swarming with that hellacious defense. And you see how quick they move to the ball on the catch. Every movement with purpose. Again, they're aiming for those 300 passes a game. Clark hit his first 3. Mack with the shot clock down to 4. He's going to take it himself. And a whistle underneath against Lehigh. It's going to go against Keith Higgins, and that's his first personal. Second straight Patriot League opponent that the Bruins are facing. So they got a little bit of a taste of the conference facing Boston University, a different team. They do play somewhat similarly as Mack is able to float it up and in. Excellent scoop layup, and he's got 8.
Sebastian Mack doing what he does best.
Shovel pass, and it drops through for Whitney Sidney. A much-needed bucket for the senior. Preseason All-Patriot League team, but he has been bottled up so far in this contest. He's been one of the main guys on the scouting report. And it's going the other way.
Yeah, going back on Tyler Whitney Sidney. Last year when Keith Higgins Jr. was out, he had to be that guy to step up to be the #1 option for this team. Now it's going to be a little different now that Keith Higgins Jr. is healthy, but maybe we should see still more production that's been like we saw last season. So let's see if he can continue to give help to this Lehigh basketball team.
A lot of familiarity amongst these Lehigh players. 11 returners from last year's squad. Excellent pump fake, no whistle, and then it comes in at the tail end. Again, they hit 9 threes against Columbia, but those 9 threes were only scored by 2 guys, Keith Higgins and Nasir Whitlock. Short on the first. But he's been a natural leader, Tyler Whitney Sidney. He was named during his Brooks School days a prefect, which again is kind of a significant leadership distinction for a senior. They're appointed to guys that work with younger students, try to help them feel welcome and adjust to living away from home. So he's been a born leader even during his youth. Sky Clark got that great inside seal and draws the personal, so we'll head to the line. They're going to need some more of that leadership to shine through in the second half.
Yeah, Tyler Whitney Sidney, always pushing the action, always trying to find his teammates.
Sky Clark's been working on that leadership throughout his collegiate career. Perfect 3 for 3 on the season, and now make it 4 for 4. Knosman, what a dime, but he missed on the doorstep. Offensive rebound. Higgins, the baseline jumper. Great looking shot for Keith Higgins. He continues to have the hot hand for Lehigh. 15 points in his homecoming, and they force the deflection. Cam Gillis, you talked about it, Gio. 2 shots, 0 for 2 from 3 for him. Knosman cut off in his tracks. Johnson just face guarding Higgins well up top. Knosman tees it up. And that ball was a little stagnant on that possession for Lehigh.
Yeah, not a lot of ball movement, especially with Kobe Johnson guarding Keith Higgins. That's some elite defense, and if you have your best defender on their best offensive guy and they're stopping him, it's going to be a long night.
By the way, the last time that UCLA had held an opponent to 16 points or less in the first half came against the USC Trojans back in 2012. That was during a stretch as Sky Clark hits the jumper when the Bruins actually were renovating Pauley Pavilion. They were playing at the LA Sports Arena at the time. And they led 31-16 at the half of that game. They went on to win 64-54. But it's been over 12 years since that last happened, as Whitney Sidney is able to drill the 3.
Tyler Whitney Sidney, not really known for his three-point ability, but if he can start hitting shots from the outside like that, it could be very scary for this Mountain Hawks team.
And that's his first 3-point make of the season. Was 0 for 5 prior to that one. Just the third 3-pointer of the game for the Mountain Hawks. They're going to need some more of those to come. Clark misses the 2, and soaring in for the rebound, Whitney Sidney. Feels like he's starting to get it going potentially. Tried to thread it to Alvey. Clark got his hands in it, and a whistle. Media timeout on the floor. UCLA has doubled up. Talked about Whitney Sidney, talking about how he's one of the best athletes he's ever played with. He's obviously always been a great slasher, but adding that 3-point shot to his game has really unlocked an additional aspect that we weren't seeing and that Lehigh wasn't seeing from him his first couple of seasons, as Alvey misses the short jumper.
Of course, Whitney Sidney, a 3-star prospect out of high school and averaged 5th most points in the Patriot League last season. He can continue to play a huge role for this Lehigh team.
Dominique Harris back out on the floor. Perry, 2-dribble pull-up. And Whitney Sidney with the rebound. In fact, he wears number 22 because his mom and his aunt were 22 throughout their basketball career, and he's always looked up to them. As finally Cam Gillis is able to get on the board. And he had missed his first 2 threes in the first half, but able to stick that one. And Harris still cold. This team has already dealt with adversity in the beginning of the season. Alvey leaves it short and wrestled into the hands of Eric Daly Jr., who's been a menace now, up to 9 rebounds and 9 points, closing in on a double-double. Dump down, William Kyle. And it's waved off, a whistle on the entry. Tyler Bilodeau checking in to replace Trent Perry. And again, Bruins playing without Dylan Andrews tonight. Now for Lehigh, no Bube Moma, who was a regular starter last season. Inbound it to Daly Jr., and with that jumper, he's got his first double-double as a Bruin.
Something interesting to see what the Bruins are doing right now. They're running 3 forwards out there. They're playing a really big lineup to kind of counteract the 3-guard lineup from Lehigh. Very interesting to see how they continue to progress with this lineup throughout the game.
Trying to play with a little bit more pace Johnson on the drive. Nearly got it to fall. And the transfer, Eric Daly Jr. had been flirting with a couple double-doubles in the first 3 games, but finally records his first here in Westwood. His dad played basketball at TCU, competed in the pros for 10 years across various continents. His mom even played at Texas. Meanwhile, speaking of professional athletes in the family, Kobe Johnson has a lot of those. His brother Jalen, who played for Duke, selected 20th overall in the 2021 NBA draft by the Atlanta Hawks, has been flourishing with the Hawks, especially this season. Father played at Wisconsin, Milwaukee, and Southeast Missouri State. Also played in the pros. His mom was a collegiate player. Runs in the family. Gillis just hit his last 3. Stefanovic back in there. Higgins has a little bit of a height advantage. Gonna have to operate quickly here with 2. Tough fall away. Excellent contest by Sky Clark. Mack on the run. The lob and the slam. Eric Daly Jr. Welcome to Pauley Pavilion.
Mack dishing out the lobs today from Adai Mara and now to Eric Daly Jr. This is some fantastic basketball the Bruins are playing right now.
The southpaw hammering it home and an emphatic finish. As this matches once again the largest lead of the game for UCLA. Bilodeau drives it baseline, count it and 1. TB 34 with a chance for 3.
Bilodeau, what a move in the inside.
Listen, I know the TB12 method works, but the TB34 method is working out pretty good so far this season.
Might work even better.
Are you interested in eating avocado ice cream, though?
I don't know. I'd have to try it. I have to try it from a place that makes it very well.
We'll have to ask him if he eats that, especially during the season. Mounthawks trailed by as many as 13. 3 minutes to play in their last game. Whitney Sidney just hit his last 3, make it 2 in a row. Whitney Sidney finds nothing but nylon.
It must feel good for Whitney Sidney to get on a roll here with a couple 3s in this game.
He was late to the party, but he's finally joined. He's in double figures with 10. Mack, excellent first drive. Such a powerful player, especially a driver. It's not a surprise how he's been able to get to the rim so often in his career, and he's got 2 free throws coming to Eric Daly.
That lob to Eric Daly, fantastic. Points in the paint is still an issue for the Mountain Hawks, and I don't know if they're going to be able to stop it. I really don't. So let's see what happens here down the stretch. They can even contest the Bruins in that area.
Bruins defensively have, again, technically only forced Lehigh into 8 turnovers. But they've probably had over 20 deflections and tip passes, just 4 registered steals. But again, the activity has been there all night. Every catch for Lehigh has been contested. And when you have a guy like Sebastian Mack who applies so much pressure, he's almost impossible to contain on his drives to the line.
Yeah, Sky Clark as well does a similar thing to Mack, where they just hound the ball all the time, and it's so hard as an offensive player to get them off your hip. It's almost like a mosquito or a fly inside your house that you can't really seem to get out.
Doesn't look like they have a Venus flytrap as well in there.
Or a fly swatter in general.
Yeah. It's been hard to swat these Bruins. As Alfredo Adeza, a lot of potential with him, the freshman, 6'10". The Italian played just 6 minutes in the opener against Northwestern, making his second appearance of the season. Eric Daly Jr. matching his point total on Monday against BU with 13, but his first career double-double here with UCLA. It's been a coming out party as well. The high-low game. Can't finish. Last touched by Lehigh, which Coach Reed can't believe. And it never looks like Coach Cronin is content with the way that his team is playing. Demands a lot. He acknowledges he's a very demanding coach, as a perfect connection from Clark to Mara, who wanted to raise the roof, it looked like, and they are waving it off or not. And this looks like it might be going the other way. And Coach Cronin can't believe the call. Let's take one more look. And it counts, but there's a technical foul assessed. And that is why Keith Higgins is heading to the line.
The refs must have thought he hung on to the rim a little too long. And of course, as you just saw, Mara very upset about that.
Well, you can't blame the guy. He has 3 dunks in this game. He wants to stay up there as long as he can.
Wants to get this crowd hyped and energized, just like Daly did earlier, just like he did earlier. So I totally understand the frustration.
He's the tallest player at UCLA since Mike Lanier at 7'7". Was competing as the backup center in the 91-92 season for the Bruins. Part of that Don McLean era. He was actually on the call on Monday when the Bruins faced off against Boston University. Shot clock under 10. Trying to stick with him, and the freshman off the back heel. Whitney Sidney bobbled it, kept it alive. And Whitlock right into the chest of Clark, slid in and drew the charge. He drew 2 on Monday, and was able to slide those puppies yet again tonight.
Exactly like what we were talking about earlier. That defensive pressure from the guards from the Bruins has really hounded guys like Gillis and Tyler Whitney Cindy for the Mountain Hawks.
And we talked about how active Sky Clark was against the Terriers, as there's a foul on the post catch by the freshman Adeza. Sky Clark, of course, was the first of 6 transfers to commit to UCLA. He had already built up a relationship with the coaching staff that spanned during his high school days. Always felt like Los Angeles was home for him. But Coach Cronin actually loved his defense when he was a freshman at Heritage Christian. Of course, the coaching pipeline and the connections overseas are what put Adai Mara on the map. Already second on the team in blocks this season. In minimal time out on the floor. Sweet looking stroke for the big fella as he gives the Bruins a 32-point lead.
Going back to the blocks, Adai Mara actually averages 8 blocks per 32 minutes, if you could believe that. Or excuse me, 4 blocks per 32 minutes. So if he gets on the floor more, you could tell that he's going to block a lot more shots.
This will be an over and back violation. That's that pressure. The Bruins able to induce another turnover, or rather induce Lehigh into committing that turnover. And they haven't needed to shoot it well from deep. Just 2 3-pointers made from both sides. Trying to set up the pick and roll. Floats it way up top there. Falls in the hands of Daly Jr., who flips it up and in. Right place, right time for 2. starting to see the facilitation and the vision. Sky Clark, active hand, Stefanovic, 2-on-1. The give and the lob back on the back of Eric Daly Jr. was Keith Higgins.
Yeah, here's another look at this. What a basket from Daly, just there in the perfect moment. And that's a lot of offensive rebounding, just having good positioning, boxing out the other guy. And if they can continue to do that, they could be a dominant force in offensive rebound throughout the season.
26 minutes of action tonight. And he had 2 double-doubles as a freshman at Oklahoma State, already collecting his first in Game 4 of this season in Westwood. 5 for 8 from the charity stripe tonight. So he'll get subbed out, and Bilodeau will replace him. .13 points, 5 rebounds for Bilodeau. Joshua Ingram back in for the Mountain Hawks. And Knosman trying to challenge Mara, who's forced to back off, and Knosman is able to knock in the 3. He's going to like that matchup all day if he's got the 7-footer on him. He's calling for it. Perry dumps it down to him. Going against the 6'10", Conniff, and nearly slammed it home. Wise foul taken by Conniff.
And Conniff, not a small guy. He's 6'11", and Mara just makes him look a little bit smaller.
260 pounds as well, Gio.
My goodness.
Now, Mara's 240 pounds, but as we talked about, may need to become more of a carnivore to match that body of Conniff. As Benoit is going to re-enter for Whitney Sidney.
Yeah, and that's what Mara kind of struggled with last season, is he would get bullied around a lot. Even though he was 7'3", he wasn't the biggest guy. He didn't have the biggest base. So now that he's gained these 20, 25 pounds of muscle on him, he's going to be very hard to stop against guys who are smaller than him.
He's had an impact, though, tonight. Even just on that example right there, catch and shoot for Ingram. And easily handled. Second rebound for Mara. Hold it up, Bilodeau avoids the double, the shovel, and sneaking behind, Stefanovic. Excellent connection. They moved the ball well. That's the 11th assist of the night for UCLA. They blew the game open in the first half, going on a 21-0 run, where they held Lehigh scoreless for 8 minutes. Dominic Harris back in. Higgins takes a look up at the shot clock and falls away. And he has had the stroke tonight, getting to his spot. He just hasn't had the supporting cast. 18 points doing his part. Perry, no, Mara. Easy room service, lays it up and in, and a fiery Mara jogging to the other end. Look at the help side defense now able to recover. Higgins. He has scored at least 20 points in 2 straight games, knocking on the door of his 3rd straight with another jumper. Mara. Gonna show off the eagle eye. He's all smile, so are the Bruins. Closing in on their 3rd home win of the season, and it's been the sophomore Spaniard enjoying the entire ride. Well, as the Beatles once put it, oh, I get by with a little help from my friends, and we've been seeing the connections amongst all the Bruins friends so far tonight.
Yeah, just take a look at this highlight. Bilodeau creates pressure by collapsing the defense inside. Stefanovic is on that left side and has a wide open lane, and that's what happens when you get the ball inside. It collapses defenses and it allows wide open players to be open and find buckets easily in the paint.
First bucket tonight for Stefanovic. For Bilodeau, first assist of the night as well. But the thing that has stood out, as you talked about, a 27-0 advantage in the bench points department for UCLA tonight. They have shut off the water valve of Lehigh's bench. Harris still looking for his first bucket as a Bruin. And Higgins with a team-high 18 comes the other way. We haven't seen the guard play impact this game as much as Lehigh was going to need, as Benoit comes up short and last touched by the Mountain Hawks. But give credit to this UCLA perimeter defense. They have made everything extremely difficult.
As they always do. Last 3 games have done exactly that. Necessarily more in the turnovers category. Even though we haven't seen much of that tonight, same concepts arise.
Stefanovic floats it up. Bilodeau with the finish. Stefanovic may only be rooming with Mara, but developing early chemistry with Bilodeau. We've seen that a lot of the big man connections tonight. It's that ball movement that the Bruins are utilizing to build that harmony as Mara hammers Benoit on the drive. But how rare is it, Gio, to see bigs amongst bigs? Now, I know Stefanovic claims he's just a guard at 6'6", but in this UCLA rotation, there's going to be times when he's going to have to play in the front court. And the fact that you've got Bilodeau, you've got Stefanovic, you've got Mara, Eric Daly Jr., bigs that are all comfortable passing the rock can make this team so dangerous moving forward.
Yeah, it can make any team dangerous moving forward specifically. You look at teams in the past that have had passing big men. The perfect example of this is the Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic. When you have your big who can pass the ball, it creates so much offense for other guys to produce.
Edward Benoit, freshman out of Quebec. Second appearance of the season for him. Knocks down a pair. Played 14 minutes in the opener against Northwestern, but did collect 8 rebounds, so was impactful on the glass in that time out there. I feel like he's a really skilled player. Speaking of skilled player, Harris, welcome to UCLA. His first bucket as a Bruin. He can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Had missed his previous 9 threes. 10th time is the right one.
Of course, Dominic Harris was 3rd in the nation in three-point percentage last season.
Still stuck at 18 is Higgins. And again, what we've been seeing from this UCLA team, a change in attitude, playing with a lot more energy as Mara with the beautiful baby hook shot, paying a little homage to Lou Alcindor back in the day. Really, that's who comes to mind as well. Guys with that amount of skill and touch around the rim as he commits the foul up top. But something interesting that Coach Cronin talked about against BU was how happy he was with their attitude of humility. And specifically utilizing the word humility is not always in the vocabulary of coaches, is you want players to be confident. You almost want to have a kind of healthy arrogance as Mara is greeted to a round of applause. But he's really loved the energy and the effort from this team because he didn't see it against New Mexico. In the last 2 games, it's been there.
Yeah, the energy is 100% the reason why UCLA is playing great defense. If you have energy and you can continue to dominate on that end of the floor, teams cannot stop you. They will just simply tire out and wear out, and that's where your offense can shine.
William Kyle back in for UCLA as well. Perry, retreat dribble. They find Stefanovic, in and out. Boy, that was halfway down. Here comes Gillis. Stefanovic hit 3 threes on Monday's Benoit with a feathery touch for 2. Again, the defense tonight once again for UCLA. They held BU to 40 points. And the Mount Hawks just at 41. As Jack Seidler came in for the final 90 seconds against BU back in. Call him the Marlboro man from Marlboro, New Jersey. Don't know if he's a smoker, though. I haven't asked him. As Harris can't hit the 3. Ingram, excellent first move, banks it in. Joshua Ingram is able to slip inside for 2. Lehigh, this wraps up a 4-game road trip. They'll return home to host the University of Valley Forge for their home opener on the 20th. Meanwhile, for UCLA, they're currently in the middle of a nice little homestand. But conference play comes early for them. They take on Washington in the beginning of December.
Yeah, UCLA scheduling, they're 7 out of first 8 games at home, making sure this team can be confident together. That one anomaly, of course, the New Mexico game.
Conniff was fouled. He'll head to the line when we come short. For Ben Knosman, born in Dayton, Ohio, has always envisioned returning to play at UD Arena. So he'll be back in his hometown. And just like Higgins had a lot of his friends and family in attendance tonight, that'll be special for him later next month.
And of course, Kim Gillis had his homecoming back in Georgetown when they played.
The junior, Tommy Conniff, at Summit, New Jersey. Got a lot of potential. 6'11", we talked about the size. We've highlighted it. It's been a tough matchup going against Mara as he hits a pair. And he'll get subbed out. As this is another special moment. Brendan Reed, the son of the head coach, Dr. Brett Reed, entering the contest here in Westwood. Just his 2nd appearance of the season. Played 2 minutes against Northwestern, but a special moment for those two to essentially share the court together. As Harris misfires on the 2. Peter Kramer also in for the first time, and the southpaw, Jake Pike. 2nd appearance for him. Can't hit from deep. But a lot to still be excited about if you're Lehigh. And again, as Coach Reed told us pregame, you know, this month, again, is just about growing, building a little bit of trust and confidence in one another. Stefanovic is able to throw it off of the body of Pike. And we've seen Lehigh perform well against some other formidable opponents. It's early in the season. There's a long window for them to start to put things together.
Yeah, sometimes it's just not your night from three-point land, and that's a part of Lehigh's game. Lehigh wants to run down the floor, and they want to shoot threes. They want to beat you from that area. So if you're not making those threes, it's very hard to come back in the game. But once you do find that rhythm, once you do have that hot game, it's going to be hard to stop and vice versa.
Trent Perry hit from the elbow. Kobe Johnson has been in his ear a lot, just trying to keep him positive and not overstressing on little mistakes. And that's one of the things that Coach Cronin has talked about with him, is just giving himself some grace to grow. Complete performance for UCLA. Stefanovic with the left. No, there's Mara. Didn't even have to jump for it and flicked it high off the window. Boy, I don't think those feet came up about more than 2 inches, Gio.
Yeah, he's just dominant when he's on, and that improvement that we've seen from his freshman year this year is going to be fun to watch going into Big Ten play.
Mara hauls in his 5th rebound, and perhaps their most complete performance of the season. A 40-point win, 85-45. The Bruins improve to 3-1 on the season and remain unbeaten here.